ăștia trebuie farmați, frate, adică trebuie făcuți toți, trebuie bătuți toți boșii.
Will be found on these bosses in the endgame as well, so you don't necessarily have to farm all of them in the campaign.
Nu trebuie să-i farmezi în campaign, cât ți-i dă și în endgame, deci...
However, some of these bosses can be very tough to handle depending on your character's level and equipment. So do keep in mind that if you find yourself struggling to defeat a boss, you can always backtrack and farm previous areas to level up or find better gear and then give it another try at a later stage. As we content creators always do, I am going to ask you to hit that like button, subscribe for more content as it helps the channel out a lot, and we are so close to 100,000 subscribers, so I really appreciate that support. And as I mentioned in the start of this video, if you are an RPG veteran or a PoE experienced player, let me know and let the new players know in the comments down below the best tip you have for new players coming in. And again, welcome in everyone joining in Path of Exile 2. I think, needless to say, I think we can all agree. We are super excited for this, and I'm just...
You will be able to fight their leader, Zesht. We that are one.
We that dreamed. We in nightmare. We that are one. Fate relies truth.
PoE2 has this, and we get Tomb Lord.
Hey guys, Gassy TV here.
Da.
So that's right folks, only 3 days are left between us and the Path of Exile 2 early access, and the good news keeps on coming. A new pre-download client for the PC just got announced. We also got some more info on the server capacity on day 1 and many more details on the endgame. Plus, pinnacle bosses may end up being even more challenging than we initially thought. So lots to discuss in this video, and by the way, you still have time to enter my giveaway for the 2 early access keys. You just have to be a sub to the channel, leave a like on the video, and also comment down below. But to get started, we have the pre-downloads, and this has been so massively requested by the fan base that Grinding Gears is now putting out a standalone PC client that's going to be available to download starting on Thursday, December 5th from 5 p.m. PST, but you can also see the time conversion right here on the website to your local time. I'm going to post the links down below for you to follow, by the way. But please note that when patching begins for Path of Exile 2 early access, you may also have a few remaining files that you will need to update as well. And you can download the client, by the way, directly from the main Path of Exile 2 website. However, there's also going to be a torrent that you can download with the client directly, and in case that doesn't work from the website, you have this additional means. For other platforms, good to note is that Xbox pre-downloads have already begun. Meanwhile, for the PlayStation, Founders Pack should go live 24 hours ahead of the early access, which is going to give you plenty of time to download the game and get yourself ready. Do keep in mind, however, that after downloading the client, you won't be able to log in until EA starts at 11 AM PST on Friday, December 6th. So yeah, it's very interesting to see it because initially Grinding Gears didn't want to release any PC client to avoid any data mining or any spoilers, but it seems that the community feedback was just way too great. In the meantime, however, we do have this almost 2-hour interview with the game's director posted on the Zizaren channel, so you can go ahead and check him out. Obviously, if you haven't seen it, there are some big key takeaways here that stood out with me. So I do want to cover them, starting with the pinnacle bosses. So a big question here was, do we have one or do we have multiple attempts for each pinnacle boss? To which the answer was, at least for the time being, we only get one death for each pinnacle boss attempt. So that means if you fail it, you're going to have to restart from the very beginning and basically just have to wait for the encounter or the next opportunity you have to do the encounter again. Which also raises a few concerns within the fan base. Mainly, it's going to make it much more difficult to do practice runs now, learning the boss mechanics on your own, and instead you're going to be forced to maybe watch online video guides so that you don't waste your own attempts. At the same time, this also means we're going to have to focus a lot more on our gear and really go in locked in and well prepared. Not just in terms of damage, but maybe also like going on with a lot lot more defenses, which on one side I can totally see the appeal of. I definitely think that that's like the better approach, like really go in and only have that one chance. But I can also see the more casual players maybe not loving this as much and maybe even holding off from doing pinnacle bosses entirely. But from the way it was worded, the game's director seemed open to feedback, so only for the time being is it that this change is being implemented, and it's maybe likely that in the future we're going to see multiple attempts being added for pinnacle bosses. And one suggestion I really liked was one in which we have multiple portals, but every time we die and use one again, it's going to reset that boss back to 100% HP rather than continuing from where it was left off to avoid cheesing it, which I totally think is like the best and most sensible middle ground between all of this. However, there are some other things that will help us in the pinnacle boss fights. Obviously, we cannot use portals during it, but we can still use the restart to checkpoint from the pause menu, so we can press escape and just use restart to checkpoint, and this is going to bring us to the previous checkpoint before the boss fight. Or Alt F4 does the same thing. Exiting the client in any way also does that. Now, Jonathan also talked about a very interesting feature that may help to not die from lag spikes, especially on hardcore difficulty. So this is, he's not 100% sure if it's been completely implemented just yet, but this feature is supposed to detect when you have internet lag. So when it's been over 100 milliseconds from when your client last responded to the server, and the server in this case will detect it and pause that game for you even if you did not completely disconnect, so that you do not die for no reason, which is actually a very good option. This is going to mean you're not going to die for so many reasons that are out of your control, like in this case having those lag spikes. Especially useful, I would say, on the hardcore difficulty, but even on like normal mode, this should make things like just better for everybody. In the meantime, let's also talk about
Lineage 2 is hard to level up in? Nonsense! Let me show you how easy it is to get to level
some other stuff. Obviously, characters and databases are going to be separate from PoE 1 to PoE 2. So if you have a name that you really like, you're going to have to reclaim it again or hurry to do so in PoE 2. The databases do not get shared. In the meantime, I do want to talk about some of the other stuff over here. One of them is in regards to the towers / buffing of maps. So as you may or may not know, the Atlas is going to be one of the main endgame activities, and as we move through those maps to the next towers, we're going to eventually also find different activities like breaches and whatnot. Also ones making a return, by the way, from the first Path of Exile. But basically, these are also going to have a chance to drop tablets that we can then use at the towers to buff all the maps in the radius, both with modifiers but also with some of these new activities. And one of the questions was, well, because we have to run maps to reach the towers in the first place, we're effectively consuming some of the maps that we could have buffed with the tablets. Is there a way to work around that, or are the maps sufficient enough? And yes, because the radius is so large to these towers, the answer was that there are more than enough maps going around. And also when we apply those tablets, there's going to be at least 6 or 7 of them that will generally affect the radius around, on top of the fact that we can also stack
Curioso, oare au scos Path of Building pentru PoE 2.
Seems to be blood everywhere I go.
Just a Black Rose Visionary. Sorcerer Experiment.
This world is all I have. Those who judge condemn themselves. Wars are messy. My kills are clean.
Zon deserves more.
Those who judge condemn themselves.
Bow down!
Avem și rel.
Friends just get in the way. Your hex tech won't save you.
Unitățile de 2. Nu-i nimic. Alegem mai repede la carusel. Stres. Să întorce rata. Mai încolo. Dominator, ăsta e Sentinel cu Visionary. Cruiser Visionary. Așa. Mă las așa deocamdată. O să fac rost de Vex
Those who judge condemn
și
themselves.
Heimerdinger. Cred că 4 Visionary e suficient. Și îmi trebuie Black Rose.
A conquered nation is a loyal one.
Asta out. Trebuie Black Rose. Nu.
Try to die with dignity.
Asta îmi trebuie. Asta. În afară de asta. Black Rose. este la green? Vai, Vladimir. Hai să pe el. Dominator.
Every web, a masterpiece.
Ne trebuie un Wraeclast. Campbell Dominator. Hai, Dominator. Deci, ultimul.
The spider, I, and you the fly.
Friends just get in the way.
Ia, Vladimir. Trei level 6. Eu nu am. Fuck.
Piltover will suffer for its crimes against me.
Feel your guilt!
12 gold pentru level 6. Poftim.
A draining exercise.
Emissary Watcher. Nu, Watcher deloc.
This world is all I have.
trebuie în Black Rose. Raining Gold.
This is for everyone I've lost.
Pun asta așa. Momentan.
Die for me.
Ce ai magic asta?
Those who judge condemn themselves.
Încă un vigilă care e ăla.
Zon deserves more.
Cred că visionerii rămâne la 4. Atunci. O să revin la locul renal. Deci mai trebuie încă un plan.
Piltover will suffer for its crimes against me. Testing in progress. I theorize your defeat.
Deci mai avem un visionerii. Hai de pula mea cât reroll am dat și nu mi-a dat nimica. Ăla avea Heimerdinger, care mi-l trebuie și mie. Și ăsta e cu Visionary, tipul 1. Visionary Conqueror, Rebel.
Wonderful.
Your headstep won't save you.
Friends just get in the way.
Visionary 5, îmi trebuie Black Rose.
Testing in progress.
Blue buff. Stuff.
They'll have a few screws loose by the end of this.
Magic Caster.
They'll have a few screws loose by the end of this. I realize your defeat. Piltover will suffer for its crimes against me.
Deci trebuie să scap din Visionary și să mai pun un Black Rose jos, Cassiopeia sau ăla.
Wonderful.